It was a morning when the call came in. The voice on the other end sounded tired, maybe even a little desperate. "There's a cat," the caller said, "living under the basement garage of our building. He looks bad. There's something wrong with his mouth. Please, can someone come?" I remember glancing out the window at that moment, the street still slick from last night's storm, a light drizzle tapping against the glass. Cases like these are always urgent. When you hear the word tumor, you know that time isn't your ally. Within minutes, I had my rescue bag packed, net, gloves, food, carrier, antiseptic kit, and started the van. The location was about 10 kilometers away, a large apartment complex on the edge of the city. One of those places where people live close together yet somehow know nothing about the little lives suffering right beneath them. By the time I arrived, it was already mid-morning. The security guard led me down a ramp into the underground parking garage. The smell of oil and concrete filled the air. "He's been hiding under that car for 3 days, the guard said, pointing toward a dusty sedan in the corner. "No one can get close. He just stares, doesn't eat much." I knelt and shone my flashlight beneath the car. 2 glowing eyes reflected back yellow, wary, but dulled by exhaustion. His fur, once white, was streaked with grime and oil stains. Around his mouth was a dark, wet crust, dried blood and infection mixed together. Even from a distance, I could see the swelling on his lower jaw. It wasn't just an injury. It was a tumor, large, painful, and deforming. Slowly, I unhooked my net, speaking softly. "It's okay, buddy. I'm not here to hurt you." My voice echoed gently under the concrete ceiling. The cat didn't move, just blinked once. Then, as I took a small step closer, he backed up, pressing himself against the wall. I waited, letting him breathe, letting him see that I wasn't a threat. When the moment was right, I moved quickly, one swing, firm but careful, and the net closed around him. He let out a short, hoarse cry, the kind that cuts through your heart. But soon, he stopped struggling, realizing maybe that his fight was finally over. We transferred him gently into the carrier, covered it with a towel to calm him, and headed straight back to our veterinary center. On the way, I could hear faint breathing from inside the box, shallow but steady. I whispered, "You're safe now." Back at the clinic, our team moved fast. We cleaned his face, removing layers of pus and dirt that had stuck to his fur. Beneath all that, the tumor was worse than we'd feared. It had grown from the lower gum and spread to one side of his cheek, making it hard for him to close his mouth. He drooled constantly, unable to eat properly. His ribs showed through the thin skin. Malnutrition, dehydration, infection, the holy trinity of suffering for an abandoned cat. But even in that state, he didn't hiss, didn't scratch, didn't fight. He just looked at us as if asking, "Is it over now? Can I rest?" We gave him water through a syringe, small sips at first. Then, some soft food mixed with medicine. His tongue trembled as he tried to eat, but he kept going. That tiny act of will to eat, to live, was enough for us to start. Our vet examined the X-ray carefully. The tumor, though large, hadn't yet spread to the bone. "If we remove it soon," she said, "he might recover. But we'll need to stabilize him first. Antibiotics, fluids, supplements. He's too weak for surgery now, so we spent 2 days preparing him." We named him Leo because even in pain, he had the quiet bravery of a lion. Each morning, I'd come to his cage and say, "Good morning, Leo," and he'd lift his head slightly, eyes half closed, as if he recognized my voice. The 3rd day, the surgery began. It was long, nearly 2 hours. The tumor was intertwined with nerves and soft tissue, demanding precision and patience. I stood by, watching through the glass window, my hands clenched together. Every second felt like a lifetime. Finally, when the vet stepped back and said, "We got it all," everyone in the room exhaled at once. Leo's recovery was remarkable. Within 24 hours, he started grooming himself again. Within 48, he was nibbling soft food from a spoon. We cleaned his mouth daily, applied ointment, and gave him antibiotics. Slowly, His eyes regained their shine. There's something profoundly humbling about seeing life return where it once seemed lost. Leo began to purr again, a deep, rumbling sound that filled the quiet treatment room. It wasn't just a cat's purr. It was a heartbeat turned into sound. A thank you spoken without words, every day. He grew stronger. His fur, once dull and oily, became soft again. He learned to play cautiously at first, batting at the string I dangled near his cage, then chasing it with surprising speed. The staff loved him. Volunteers took turns feeding and brushing him. It was as if everyone wanted to give him a little piece of the affection he'd been denied for so long. After 2 weeks, Leo was well enough to roam freely in our recovery room. He'd sit by the window, basking in sunlight, blinking slowly like he finally understood peace. Sometimes, he'd meow softly when someone walked by, a gentle request for attention, or maybe just to say hello. We began looking for a permanent home for him. But secretly, I think none of us really wanted to let him go. There's always that bond that forms between rescuer and rescued, invisible but powerful. You watch them fight through pain, survive the worst, and it's impossible not to feel connected. Still, we knew he deserved a family of his own. Someone who'd love him not because he was perfect, but because he was real, scars and all. When a kind couple came to the shelter one afternoon, looking for a calm cat to adopt, Leo walked right up to them, rubbed against their legs and purred. It was as if he knew. The woman crouched down, stroked his head gently, and whispered, "You're beautiful." That was it. Leo had chosen. Now, he lives in a quiet home with warm blankets and sunlit windows. The couple sends us photos sometimes. Leo stretched out on the couch, paws in the air, mouth healed, eyes full of contentment. You'd never know what he once went through. Sometimes when I see his pictures, I think back to that dark garage, the oil smell, the shadows, the weak breathing from under a car. And I realize, it's not just about saving animals. It's about restoring faith in kindness, in endurance, in second chances. Leo's story is a reminder that even when life leaves you broken and bruised, there's always a light waiting somewhere, maybe 10 kilometers away, in a rescue van, driven by someone who still believes that every life, no matter how small, deserves another sunrise.